Hello and welcome to the LimeWedgeLoej Week 17 NFL Playoff Machine Picks. I did not do extremely well last week. I got a few big games wrong. The Redskins did win, and they beating the Eagles to secure the division, which takes all the drama out of Week 17. The Jets. I'm going to have to stand up and applaud. The Jets stepped up, and they beat the Patriots. The Texans, avoiding like 10 other scenarios, have clinched their playoff spot. I'm going ahead and just eliminating the Colts, which, if the Texans win next week, it's a moot point. Kansas City took care of business. Colts beat Miami. Lions, a little bit of pride there. Buffalo beat the Cowboys. Bears beat the Buccaneers. In a huge upset, the Panthers are no longer unbeaten. The Falcons came to play, and the Panthers didn't. After a 38-0 drubbing, you can't blame the Falcons. The Falcons come in ready, knowing that their only solace was probably going to beat the Panthers. And they did. The Panthers looked impressive on their first drive, but after that, they looked confused. As a Panthers fan, the fact that we're no longer undefeated greatly saddens me, but at the same time, I hope this loss lights a fire under us, so that we are able to win out. Speaking of big upsets, there's two more. The Ravens beat the Steelers and possibly kept the Steelers out of the playoffs with that big upset. And then the Rams beat the Seahawks, which, completely messes up the picks from last week based on all the scenarios and whatnot, along with the Cardinals beating the Packers and the Vikings beating the Giants. The Broncos make sure they won't get left out of the playoffs with their win. And now we go on to our picks. Jets and Bills. The Jets beat the Patriots, and I don't see the Jets losing to miss the playoffs. I mean, what would be a greater middle finger to his former city than, Rex Ryan winning and keeping the Jets out of the playoffs? Patriots, get them a win in Miami. In a game that matters, but it doesn't matter, I think that the Falcons know their season is over and aren't going to come out and play as hard as they did against the Panthers. Bengals, I think, are going to beat the Ravens. The Ravens have done their thing. The Bengals keep a little bit of hope alive for their bye, but I'm going to go ahead and snuff that out. Steelers beat the Browns. Not it'll do them any good at this point. The Texans win, which makes the Colts win meaningless. At this point, Washington has no reason to send out their starters, so give that to Dallas. Another game that doesn't matter. Chip Kelly has been fired by the Eagles. We wonder where he's going to end up next season. Can you say Chip Kelly trying to rebuild with his Eagles? With his Oregon Ducks quarterback, Marcus Mariota. Panthers secure first round through the playoffs, soundly drubbing Tampa Bay. I know the quote somebody said earlier. Every team that after they were undefeated lost 2 in a row. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Kansas City beats Oakland to get their 5th seed. Even if they didn't, Kansas City is locked into the playoffs. In the game that doesn't matter, throw one to the Rams. And you can see this one got bumped to the Sunday night game because the division is on the line. This one would also have been a really interesting one to bump down to the main event, but I think it was a right choice with Minnesota and Green Bay. I still think at that point Carolina will have won, so Arizona would rest their starters. No need to put them on the field and put them out there for injury. And then if Green Bay wins, it sets up Minnesota at Green Bay. Minnesota wins, it sets up Seattle at Minnesota. Let me make sure none of my other tiebreakers are wrong. Nope. So basically, if Minnesota wins, they get to host Seattle. If Green Bay wins, they host Minnesota again. I'm not one to say it's in Minnesota's best interest to lose this game, but it might possibly be best in Minnesota's best interest to lose. But I'm going to say Minnesota wins this game. Why? Oh, well, Green Bay's going to come out mad against Arizona because they lost so bad to Arizona. The Vikings beat the lowly Giants. I just feel Minnesota has this game. It's a very feelsy thing. It's more or less a coin flip. I know Green Bay won earlier in the year in Minnesota, but I also kind of want Green Bay to win to see them play for 2 weeks in a row. I always love when the playoffs work like that. But it's a coin flip. Every game is a coin flip from now on. But one big thing, just throwing this out there, Rex Ryan can play spoiler for the Jets. That would be interesting. Also, I think Jacksonville has been completely and utterly eliminated as well. Yeah, Jacksonville's eliminated. What am I thinking? Of course they're eliminated. They lost in week 16. They would have had to beat the Saints to have any chance. Okay, I'm insane. Oh, they would have had to, and then with the Colts and the Texans would have lost. I played with that last week. I should remember that. Anyway, playoff time. The Steelers, who I thought were the favorites to get to the AFC Championship game, if not the Super Bowl, have not made it to the playoffs. With a record of 10-6, the Steelers look like they're going to miss out. And then we have the Jets at Bengals. Missing the bye, the Bengals are not going to have Andy Dalton, which makes me give the game to the Jets. The Chiefs are red hot. The Texans squeaked in on pretty much a technicality. I give it to the Chiefs. So again, I don't have either home team winning. And then it will be the 6 Jets at the 1 seed Patriots. This time, the Jets won't have home field advantage. And as any Jets-Patriots game, it's a coin flip. This one, New England at home, flipping it to the Patriots. Then we have a division game with the Chiefs at the Broncos. The Broncos stepped up when they beat Cincinnati, but I believe Kansas City's playing more consistently. That would leave the 5 Chiefs at the 1 Patriots for the AFC Championship. Now, this one is a real hard one, but I've picked the Chiefs basically for the past 3 weeks. The Chiefs have not lost in that time frame. The Patriots have. So, I play the hot hand. I'm playing the Chiefs card. Chiefs still going to the Super Bowl. They may lose in the playoffs and make me look bad, but if they do get to the Super Bowl, I'm going to say I predicted it consistently for the past 3 or so weeks. And then in the NFC, Seattle at Minnesota. It's that time of the year. Pete Carroll's bunch is going to come out of the woodwork. I see them beating Minnesota. Green Bay at Washington. I'm sorry, Kirk Cousins. I would like it very much if you won. But Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers also comes out this time of the year. Note, in both the AFC and NFC for the past 2 weeks, I've had both wildcard teams winning. That would put 6 Seattle at 1 Carolina and 5 Green Bay and 2 Arizona. How Carolina plays week 17 will determine my predictions for the playoffs. because I will, after week 17, I will still make my wild card predictions. Then the week after that, my divisional round predictions. And then championship, and finally my big Super Bowl prediction. My big Super Bowl prediction, it's going to be me saying, this team will win for this reason. I'm glad you watched. So, nothing big for that. But Seattle at Carolina, I'm going to give the slight edge still to Carolina. And then that would leave Green Bay at Arizona. Green Bay will put up a lot more of a fight, but Arizona still wins. And as a man of my word, I said I was going to pick Carolina until they lost. And they've lost. I picked the Arizona Cardinals to go into Carolina and beat Carolina for the NFC Championship to face Kansas City in the Super Bowl, which will be very confusing since both teams are wearing red. At which point, Alex Smith and Carson Palmer will both get very confused and throw a lot of interceptions. That's a joke. Maybe. Unless it happens. If it happens, I totally predicted it. If it didn't, it's a joke. Anyway, at that point, I would pick Arizona to win the Super Bowl. And Arizona Cardinals will be your Super Bowl champions. I will still adamantly root for Carolina. But the way Carolina played against Atlanta was absolutely atrocious. They let teams hang around and let teams hang around. And I'm never one to say you need to lose a game. But I hope that Ron Rivera is able to use this as a motivational tool to allow the Panthers to move forward. Since I'm also going to do a quick power ranking of the teams that I believe are going to be in the playoffs right now. In the AFC, right now, at this moment, I believe the Denver Broncos would have to be ranked number 1. They just beat the Bengals. Number 2, I would do the Chiefs. Simply because the Chiefs have been on such a long winning streak, you gotta give them some props for that. 3, the Jets. The Jets just beat the Patriots, and they're pretty hot. 4, New England. They're the Patriots. They may be number 4, but they're still extremely dangerous. 5, the Bengals. The Bengals look like they are wrapping their hands around their throat and beginning their late season choke. And then number 6, the Houston Texans. Not much to say there. Congratulations on the Texans on going to the playoffs, but that's about it. In the NFC, number 1 power ranking, Arizona. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Number 2, Carolina. They're still 15-1. Number 3, Minnesota. They're coming off a good victory. Gotta give them props for that. 4, Seattle. Seattle has a bad track record with the Rams. I'm not looking much into it. As strange as it sounds, 5, Green Bay. Green Bay is 5th in these power rankings, below Minnesota. Namely because Minnesota won last week, and Arizona made Green Bay feel bad. And then 6th, props to the Redskins for making the playoffs, but they're in the NFC East. In the NFC East, basically, most teams in the other NFC, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and maybe San Francisco, who weren't playoff teams. Any of the ones excluding San Francisco, if they were in NFC East this year, I believe they would have made the playoffs. So just throwing that out there. But not taking anything away, the Redskins deserve this playoff berth. Anyway, if you agree with my predictions, then feel free to leave a comment saying you do. If you disagree, let me know. If you enjoyed my predictions, there is also a comment button for that. They're all the same comment button, but still. Anyway, I'm LimeWedgeLoej. These are my Week 17 NFL picks, and good luck. Hopefully, your team, if they're in the playoffs, will do well, unless they're facing my team. See you next week.